What's the difference between a men's ball and a women's ball? In this video, I'll be doing a range of different tests to see whether or not there's truly a difference between a men's ball and a women's ball. So let's start with the balls. So this is the 2023 Women's World Cup ball. It's called the Oceans, and it's not necessarily the official match ball, it's the competition ball. However, it still does have that FIFA quality certification to show that it could be used as an official match ball. As well as that, it uses the speed shell construction, which is 20 thermally bonded panels. And then you have the Fußballliebe, which is the ball that was used in last year's 2024 Men's Euros competition. But this is the official match ball, a rather dirty one, I might add. This one uses the precision shell construction. But enough of that, let's get into the more technical tests. Starting with weight. For FIFA quality match pro balls, they need to weigh between 410 grams and 450 grams. The women's ball comes in at 434 grams, while the men's ball comes in at 442 grams, which is ironically a great weight for a ball. Now, something very important I need to do to make this test as fair as possible is to make sure that each ball is pumped up to the same amount of pressure. So what I'm going to do now is pump each ball up to 12 PSI. And I'm going to use this using my electric portable pump, which I'll leave a link to in my description. So the next test is circumference, which I'm going to measure with a measuring tape. So when it comes to the Fußballliebe, it is around 70 centimeters. And then with the Oceans ball, again, 70 centimeters. This is the drop test, where I'm simply going to drop each ball from the exact same height to see if there's a difference in the way they bounce. So I'll do about shoulder length and test one, again. Pretty much the exact same. Now let's look at the texture of each ball. The men's ball is an official match ball, so it has all the precision shell texturing applied to it to enhance the grip and provide a more consistent flight behavior. And because of the thermally bonding panels, the difference between the panels aren't as deep. The women's ball in comparison is a lot smoother but has some minimalistic texturing to it. And the difference between the panels seems to be a bit deeper. However, the women's ball is a tier below an official match ball. But compared to the equivalent for the men's ball, there's not much difference. In fact, the texturing seems to be the exact same. While the official match ball of the women's ball seems to have the exact same texturing as the World Cup ball from 2022. Now it's time to do some more practical field testing. So in other words, shooting, passing, dribbling, etc. So when it comes to grip and touch, I've done the same drills with each ball. Chopping it out of the sky, dribbling, rebounding on the ground, and rebounding in the air. And I'd say both balls behave very similarly despite the construction being different. The precision shell that we see on the Fußballliebe is more or less a refined version of the speed shell. In terms of differences that I noticed, I'd say they're more down to the texturing and the material construction because of them being two different tiers. The women's ball felt a bit more spongy and the men's ball felt a bit more grippy. But overall, I wouldn't say there was a noticeable performance difference between the two balls. None that you notice in a match anyway. Like, if you can control a ball, you can control a ball. In terms of striking and flight behavior, I've used these balls in this test video as well as just in other videos as well. Again, I didn't see a noticeable performance difference between the two balls when striking them or their movement in the air. I think this is mainly due to the fact that the paneling and overall construction is very similar. So in conclusion, is there really much of a difference between a men's ball and a women's ball? Performance-wise, absolutely not. There's no difference really. The only difference you're going to find between a men's ball and a women's ball is the branding on top depending on the competition. For example, the Fußballliebe, which was used for the men's Euros in 2024, is the exact same ball that was used in this recent Euros for the women's in 2025. The only difference is the color and the branding. And like I mentioned with the Women's World Cup ball, exact same as the Men's World Cup ball from 2022. I think the only time you'll see maybe somewhat of a noticeable difference between balls in how they behave in the air or when you're controlling and passing them is when they're made by different brands which have their own kind of unique technologies and constructions to making footballs. And of course, I will be testing that soon as well. So you know when that drops, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Please like this video. Like always, thank you for watching and see you next time.